I think what's interesting about what Chris Philp has said is that essentially he's saying it's reasonable for people to take action to protect the things that they love, which of course is all that we are doing as Just Stop Oil. And I'm quite tired of having to come onto programmes like this and say why we shouldn't have to be assaulted. You know, we are ordinary people. The sort of narrative that we're the enemies of ordinary people is entirely confected.
Is it a narrative with respect, Chloe, just because, you know, if somebody has paid to go and watch a sporting event or indeed anything, they would have a right to a certain level of enjoyment of that event. I mean, you must understand that it's not a narrative that you are ruining people's days when you are deliberately ruining people's days, isn't it?
My point is, you know, that this is disruptive action. It's not harmful. It's not hurtful. No one's getting hurt. It's disruptive and it's annoying, but it's working in the sense that we're having this conversation in all these different spaces every single day. And that's really, really important. The people who are taking these actions are people, you know, I'm an ordinary mum. The people that took action at Wimbledon yesterday, they're ordinary grandparents who are saying, I don't know what the future for my grandchildren is going to look like, or even if there is going to be one for them. We had the 2 hottest days, not just of the year, but the hottest days ever recorded this week. They've broken the temperature records twice. That's global annual temperatures all around the world. They've never been higher in the history of humankind on this planet. We're doing that. It's not natural and it's not inevitable. It's being caused because we are burning huge quantities of fossil fuel.
I'm just trying to drill down about what you think you are achieving here, because the public, by and large, do despise you. Our politicians aren't really doing exactly what you want them to do. And even really big, notorious environmental campaigners like Swampy think you're idiots. So who are you winning over?
Let's just unpack that, Patrick. So first of all, you know, the idea that we're despised. Well, I mean, you keep saying that on this programme, so that feels to your audience, I imagine, like a legitimate view for them to hold. But that's not the experience that's not the whole experience that we're having on the streets.
I mean, I am just. Well, can I just push back? No, can I just push back on that? Because I mean, in the last 2 or 3, 4, 5 maybe days, right, the last week or so, you've been doused in milk by ordinary passers-by. Someone who was living in a council flat poured a load of water over you. People have been swearing at you in cars. A bloke who looked like he'd had a few drinks on a stag do nick one of your signs. And then if you go back a bit further, I don't think you've got many fans at the snooker, the cricket, the rugby, the Chelsea Flower Show or the opera. So, with respect, you are not popular.
Well, but we're not trying to be popular. That's not the point of this campaign. And of course, what you're sharing, what you're talking about, is those moments where we do experience confrontation when we're out on the streets taking action. But it's not the whole story, because there are also people who stop and who applaud and who say thank you so much for what you're doing. I'm so worried and I don't know what to do, and I'm glad you're here. So it would be helpful if we were telling that story as well. Yeah. In respect of politicians, the no new oil demand, which is absolutely essential, that's being demanded by the United Nations, by the World Health Organization, by the British Medical Association, by the International Energy Agency.
Yeah, and by a lot of Middle Eastern despots as well, whose eyes and ears prick up, don't they? When they say there was no new oil and gas, because we would have to import a lot lot of that from countries where
hang on. Let me finish what I'm saying before we get sidetracked.
You don't agree with their values, but
demand, which is coming from the UN and other bodies, which is about you know that if we want to have a habitable planet, we've got to stop burning fossil fuels. Okay. That has been adopted by every major political party in this country, other than the Tories.
So, Chloe, if you glued yourself to the road in front of my car, and next to me was my partner who was having a heart attack, right, and I ripped you off that road and moved you, would it be me who was out of order?
Well, firstly, Patrick, gluing ourselves to things is not the way that it's not the tactic that we're using at the moment. We've got a very clear blue light policy, so let's not talk about hypotheticals. Let's talk about what actually happens.
Actually, you know what, Chloe? I am sick. But the thing is, Chloe, you undermine yourself here, because that is a lie. The blue lights policy has been debunked so many times. We've played videos of it where people in ambulances with the blue lights on can't get through. So I don't think you do your cause any good by living in this fantasy world where you're all lovely, really popular people who causes nobody any disruption whatsoever. And the blue light policy is a load of rubbish. We've seen it happen. People, if you cause a traffic jam in the middle of a city, there is always the chance that somebody, in the case of an emergency, is not going to be able to get to that emergency. So
sure.
There is
in London, a city of 60,000 roads, and we're holding up maybe 5. Look, the blue light policy is a really serious issue here. We've done a Freedom of Information Act. We've never had any complaints from the emergency services that we have delayed.
Probably because they're too busy putting a defibrillator to somebody's chest to think, oh gosh, you know what I'll do now? I'll go and complain. Look, Chloe, are you not worried that there's going to end up being the potential anyway for serious vigilante justice? I mean, is that actually secretly what you guys want? Do you think it would further your cause if someone just battered a load of Just Stop Oil protesters?
No, of course not, Patrick. Nobody wants that. That would be ridiculous. Look, the climate crisis is the biggest threat to law and order that humanity's ever faced. What do you think people are going to do when there isn't enough food to go round? What do you think people are going to do when there's not enough water? What do you think they're going to do when the air is toxic to breathe? That's already the case in many of our cities. We've already got our children breathing toxic air. What are we going to be doing when our homes are going up in wildfires, like 60 families lost their homes last summer? You know, what is going to happen when there's just simply not the conditions that we need to live available to all the people in this country anymore? We're going to have civil chaos. And all we're trying to do, all these ordinary, loving people are trying to do, is say, we've got to act now. We've got to have this conversation everywhere.
OK, fine. Can I ask, I think you said you were an ordinary mum just before. I've spoken to quite a few people in Just Stop Oil who said that they don't want to bring children into this world because it's so bad. Do you regret that?
I have huge compassion for anybody who feels that way, that they don't think it's right or responsible to have children when the future is so uncertain.
Do you regret bringing children into the world?
I mean, I don't regret having my 2 children. They're the light and joy of my life. But I do understand that it's my responsibility as their parent to fight for their future, in the same way that, you know, I'm responsible in respect of them doing their homework and eating properly. I have to be responsible for their future as well.
What do you do for a living?
And at the moment, their future is so uncertain that is genuinely frightening to me as a parent.
Frightening. What do you do for a living, out of interest?
I work in the arts. I work at a theatre in Birmingham.
Work in the arts, good stuff. OK.